Here we go. Alright, so, could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Yukio Nagata.
Demetrius Papadopoulos.
Demetrius Papadopoulos. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I came from Japan, 1993,
I'm a dentist in New York City.
New York, Queens.
We had one apartment till I was 7, and I only vaguely remember it.
But since the childhood, the personal space is, that was the conquering. I was conquering personal space. I didn't have personal space because, I grew up in Japan, and, I live in very crowded, cramped space.
I remember the view from the window. I remember looking down, and there's an open park. There's like a basketball court. I remember that more than anything. So I remember outside of the apartment better than inside the apartment.
Room tend to be the wall can be just a sliding door with a paper on the other side. If you kind of remove the sliding door made of paper and wood, it's going to be one large room, that kind of setting. So yes, I really wanted to have my own space, own room. That was very luxury to me.
And when we were 7, we left. That was on 96th Street, across from Metropolitan Hospital. So when we were 7, we moved to Roosevelt Island. And the Roosevelt Island I remember very well. And it was a great place. Always outside, biking, and there was lots of kids, other kids, we were playing together. Because the first year, we were the first family to move into 595 Main Street, I believe. And the first gardens that they opened up, my parents were there, and they were gardening. They did that. They were avid gardeners.
Yeah, this place I found in New York Times real estate section because it was, it's like 20 years ago or so. I just don't remember. I moved here, I think 2000 or something like that, or even before the 1996 or 7 or something like that. And I applied for it, and I was accepted. This apartment was I liked here. I thought Astoria was a nice place, and the apartment was, ample for one person, one bedroom apartment, and, first floor. And I thought it's kind of a little bit old, but that was, pretty affordable at the time. This apartment is always little cheaper than the market price. So, I applied it, and I was accepted.
This place used to be my dad's office, so before it was a total different layout. And to make
What did your dad do?
he was a surgeon. He was a medical surgeon, MD surgeon. So we gutted it and we put it in the office. Only I left that door. I left that as a nod to the posterity. I left the original door. Everything else got gutted. My brother was planning to put an apartment here, so it was already gutted. It was nothing interesting. So when I got to take the space, my brother passed away, so then we said with my dad, let's put an office here. I think a lot of it was the convenience, and I think that was it. So it's basically inertia. It wasn't really like I looked at the broad, panoply of choices geographically, and I picked the best one or something like that. It was kind of like, it was more of an inertia and a convenience for me to take this place.
For pretty much most New Yorkers.
I think a lot of people live like that. So it turns out to not be a good business, or not an ideal business. It's a very saturated place. There's
A lot of restaurants.
dentally saturated.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I didn't consider strongly. I printed out printout of dental offices with Google Maps, and it had pinpoints everywhere.
I don't have a space to breathe, even I need some personal space. So, like, when I was alone before COVID, I was doing my stuff in
Right.
this apartment. But I can't do any longer because I can't focus. Because two people here. I don't have my own, the space. So I pushed out. And fortunately, I had a garden I can walk on. So
The garden is here.
no, garden is like, that was offered from neighborhood dentist.
We did have a garden at our house when my mother-in-law was taking care of my kid, and she would come and she would do the lion's share. So I felt like I had a garden, but I was not doing the work. And then when she left and she stopped coming, it was too much, between work and such for me to maintain it. So I found out one of my patients liked gardening. So I just had this thought, like she could garden there, and then she could teach me how to garden, and I could garden. I'd have an opportunity to garden, but not have the full burden of gardening, because it does take time and effort.
My mom said that you were.
Eccentric. Because he offers the garden. I mean,
Though to be fair,
It was basically a junkyard. So everything you see there is your mom's work, with a few exceptions. I helped a little cutting down trees and this and that.
lots of weeds growing and just unattended. Like, it's a very sad situation. I just took the offer and I cleaned it, and I really transferred to, it's like, the garden. It's just, if you imagine that, somewhere in the kind of, empty plot in, like, somewhere in, like, New York City, it's like with lots of weeds and people throwing the garbage, like a unused refrigerator there, or, washer there, that kind of place.
It was like that. I just never did anything with it. It was like that.
it was always like that.
It
as
was
far
like
as-
that went from the time that I started to come to this space. It was like that. There was some lawn furniture that had been stacked up. My brother used to, sit back there with the furniture with his friends. So it was used when my brother was here. But then my brother passed. We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything with the space for 2 years. We didn't. You can't. When someone passes away, it's very difficult to handle their things. So people just kind of leave it. I think that's a general reaction. But then, life goes on. You have to use this space. It's a
Right.
valuable thing. I play the piano, so there's a big Model D concert grand in our small living room, which takes up about half the living room. And we'd have like twice as big living room if I got rid of that, but I don't know what I want to get rid of it. I don't think I want to get rid of it.
Oh, you wouldn't throw it out?
No.
Ever.
Ever.
Alright, yeah.
I
That's
would
fair.
at least sell it. I would sell it. I would never throw it out.
Yeah. I mean,
But I don't
yeah.
even want to sell it. The person who owned it before was the sister. Well, the original owner was a great concert pianist from Greece, Anaxidis. And she played a lot of recitals between, I think, the 50s and the 60s, maybe the 40s and the 60s. She has a lot of playbills from her concerts at Carnegie Hall and Town Hall. And one of my projects that I have to do is I have to publish. I have all these reels of her playing. I have to publish these reels. I don't see why it should not be published. So that's one of the things. I got to find a sound guy, somebody that could do that. So then she passed, and the piano went to her sister, and we were close friends with the sister. And then she passed, and the piano came to me. So it's history. The piano and all of the what would you call it? The working documents of Anaxidis' life, all the tapes of her concerts came to me. So it's a kind of a little bit of a national treasure. I consider it.
It's basically someone else's. It's basically
product.
someone else's life, basically.
Yes, is the product. It's there's a German word for it, and I wish I could remember it. It's a very it's basically the papers and the product of a person's life. Because the Germans, they just slap together words and they can make whatever meaning they want. It's a very good word, but it's basically the fruit of her life, and I have that. So it's like one of the.
Yeah, don't throw
It's
that
a little
out.
bit. It's a little bit of a burden sometimes, but then it's also precious, so I have to carry it.
Right.